Creamer Media's Mining Weekly is interviewing SRK Consulting Congo chairperson Dominique Sambwa following the DRC Mining Week in Lubumbashi. Hi, Dominique. There has been growing interest among Chinese mining companies in the DRC in recent years. Can you outline the current level of involvement of these companies in the DRC?
Thank you, Martin. I would probably go into various aspects of the involvement of, but as an overview, you need to know that the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, is a resource-rich nation, producing about 70% of the world's cobalt, and it's being a major producer of copper. Chinese companies have dominated the sector for almost 2 decades, playing a big role in extraction of cobalt, copper, and more recently going through also lithium. We got quite many Chinese companies players, of which some are state-owned companies and some are private companies, but they have been very dominant in the mining activities. What kind of commodities are they targeting? Actually, they are targeting more copper, cobalt in the copper belt, in the Katanga copper belt, with very dominant position in most major mines. And I think by the next year, the actual players in the lithium area in Manono will be going into production as they announced themselves. These are mainly where most Chinese companies are bigger players, but we can also note that they are in gold areas, mostly with artisanal mining activities. But although this can count, it's let's say out of control from the officials. There have been some impacts, of course. I would mention economical impact. Chinese mining companies have invested in infrastructures. They have invested in the mines that have created a lot of local jobs and contribute to the DRC mining tax revenues. But criticism persists over some imbalances of in the agreement. Here and there, some controversial situations, but it's noticeable that economic impact is real. Given the situation in the Chinese mining companies with the massive investment, I would mention that Congo is actually producing about 70% of cobalt in the world. And Chinese companies are actually controlling more than half of that production, which means that the companies are actually sitting in a dominant position in the world, thanks to their investment in the country. But getting so, it has been going with some influence in the political. Chinese investment has strengthened China's political influence in the DRC, but tensions have recently emerged. The DRC, under the governance of President Tshisekedi, has revised some agreements with the Chinese companies to guarantee greater equity and economical sovereignty. But this means it dives directly Chinese companies into political schemes of the country. The third involvement is on environment and social impacts. Chinese mining companies have been accused to cause pollution in water and soil, deforestation and displacement of local communities. But some companies have taken corrective measures. And if you go into talking about copper and cobalt production, mostly these are coming into operations with acid leach, which is, if some measures are not taken in account, produce quite a lot of pollutions in soil and water. But what we need to know that Chinese companies have been doing quite a lot to comply with the regulations, to comply with the international standards. and make things happening much better. If I compare 20 years back, I would say there have been a very major improvement in their operations, but some challenges still remain into environmental and social impact. The enforcement and environmental regulation that will carry on doing so. I need to know that also there have been like a gap into DRC governance to enforce the regulations, mostly by lack of expertise, by lack of competence and skills to deal with these challenges. So the DRC is seeking to diversify its mining partners while negotiating terms with Chinese companies. So actually, these are the greater influence, political and economical influence of Chinese companies have put, to some extent, DRC in a position to better negotiate with other companies, mostly like Western companies and other world origin companies, to come into the DRC competition.
What would you say was the most positive takeaway from the DRC Mining Week in Lubumbashi?
Well, the DRC Mining Week in Lubumbashi this year was focusing on infrastructure and energy. And this has been the 20th anniversary of a DRC Mining Week event in the region. And I should say it has been a long way. And this has brought a lot of improvement in the mining sector. This event cannot be seen like just an event, but it can be seen like a tool. It has been used like a tool by mining companies and the government, and also the local communities, a tool to make more improvement in the sector and bring more contribution to the country's economy and also to the communities. Talking about infrastructure, and this has been highlighted into the DRC Mining Week this year. We come again on a lot of the agreement and the partnership that the country has gone through to make happen a lot of infrastructure building. I would highlight here one of the biggest, which is what we used to call here the Chinese contract on infrastructure, which was made on building infrastructure against mining rights to Chinese consortiums. Actually, the latest negotiation by the government has even provided capacity up to $7 billion investment into infrastructures. And these would include power stations, roads, constructions, hospitals, schools, and rail even. So yes, there's still a lot to come, and there is actually a target on the 2025 to 2030 achievement of major of these infrastructure buildings. So yeah, the discussions have been going around this major topic in infrastructure, and it was very, very productive.
And these days, investment has got to be inclusive. You've got to benefit the ordinary citizen. And of course, if the infrastructure is big enough, it's going to benefit the ordinary citizen. But how are you getting this investment to flow to everybody in the DRC, big and small?
It's still a challenge, Martin. It's still a challenge because there is a kind of lack in follow-up on a lot of management tools to make more effective the contribution of the mining sector to the whole chain of beneficiaries, from the biggest to the smallest. But it's coming. It's coming because looking 20 years back and today, you can notice like there have been quite a big improvement into the sector. Still, there are quite a lot of challenges that will bring the contribution to the smallest, and I think that is the most important. It doesn't include only on the economical beneficiation, but it's also on the well-being of the whole population, wherever they are. And I think there have been quite a lot of efforts to be made and make this happen. Still, I'll say again, there are big challenges again to make this happen to that point.
And your next door neighbor, who's also copper rich and has got some good metals and minerals there, called Zambia. We are running a story right now to show how you can bring inclusivity, getting down to the communities and the ordinary citizens through what they've called ET. It's an extension, and they're calling it ZT for Zambia, and they've actually moved ahead, if you look at it, to make sure that you've got a framework that everybody can see online, how there is a flow to the people. What about the DRC doing something like that?
Yes, we are dealing with that. But need to know that the DRC is quite a lot of challenges. And our neighbors like Zambia have, thanks to their political stability, have been going through lesser challenges like DRC did. But it's coming, and I think we have got some of the common projects that are actually going on. I think you heard about the battery metal exclusive zone of production, which is being put in place, actually. That will involve Zambia and DRC together in a common trend on making it happen. DRC, by its size, we have such a big country, which is actually part of Southern African sub-region. It's part of Central African sub-region, and it's also part of the Eastern African region. So we have got like 3 poles with our neighbors and other African countries that we are trying to make it happen on all of them. Our contribution, like as SRK, is to help the country to put more regulations, to put more of the compliance that guides a lot of the targets that has been put in place to make them happen. And this is some of the key points where we would like to make our expertise, SRK's expertise, to benefit lack of skills, lack of people that can help drive the right way to make it happen. And I think it's in place. It's coming through.
That was Creamer Media's Mindly Weekly, speaking to SRK Consulting Congo chairperson Dominique Sambwa.